Greetings to all of you, my dear friends. Now, here's what I want to talk about. Surely many of you have already heard about the lists published by the Iranians. Jihad, the holy war that they have declared. Of course, the main instigator of the Middle Eastern conflict is Bibi, Doni. Well, here's the original list. Take a look. Here, I'm showing it to you now. You can see everyone here. The Minister of War is here, and we have Meloni and Starmer and Macron, of course. The whole gang is gathered together. You know, when I looked at this list, I thought, let me play around with it a bit in ChatGPT. I upload this photo there and say, Baha'i, please add one more person for me. And here is the new version that I made. You see it right in the bottom right corner? Just think about it for a second, guys. What would happen if the Iranians actually published something like this? It's comparable, I don't know, to a nuclear bomb strike. Just imagine what kind of political turmoil would erupt in the world. I'm afraid to even imagine what would happen to the security of these leaders, these figures in the photo. They would probably double or even triple their security. By the way, these lists, they didn't just come out of nowhere. These are actual real lists. The first photo I showed you, as for Lindsey Graham, that's clear. But one moment. After I played around with ChatGPT, a friend of mine sent me this video. Let's take a look. Maybe it's the same ChatGPT, but they say there are two lists. And the one we saw at the beginning, well, that was the first original one. And then there was an edited version. Well, let's see. In general, the way Iranians troll Americans in the media, I think it's just a must-have. It was bound to happen. Well, Lindsey Graham, he's already gone, that's clear. But they could have put him there, right? They could have. So let's watch the video I'm telling you about. Take a look. Look, this is the official C14 news resource that published this story, as you can see. And here is Lindsey Graham, crossed out. How do you like that, my dear friends? What do you think, huh? And what if they actually go through with it? And what if these lists really exist and they've already dealt with the first ones, huh? Unbelievable. Listen, Graham, by the way, in that on the first photo, the fact that he wasn't there made me want to put him there. It's not, he really deserved to be there because he's one of the ideologists of the Middle Eastern conflict. He always defended Israel. He was in favor of burning down the entire Middle East over there. That's why he should have been right there next to Bibi. You understand? Oh, and his death is very, very strange. Don't you think so? Just a few days ago, he was giving interviews and saying that he was more inspired than ever. He said, now I'll come back from Ukraine, I'll go to the Republicans, the Democrats, and we'll discuss how to implement my 500% tariffs in real life. And then he comes back from Ukraine. Not even a day passes and his heart stops. Do you believe in such coincidences? Personally, I really don't. No, I don't, friends. Well, forgive me, but at 71, he looked pretty good for his age. I wouldn't say he was frail or anything like that. He was a lively, well-fed guy, running around full of plans. He wanted to bring Russia to its knees. But he definitely wasn't someone who had been seriously ill for a long time or anything like that. He was absolutely determined to carry out the plans he had been nurturing. And now let's look at this. Who benefited from it? Well, first of all, obviously the Iranians. Obviously, so even if he wasn't on the initial list, it's quite possible that he was later added with some edits, so to speak. Who else? Who else would benefit? The Russian Federation, our intelligence agencies. This person was extremely undesirable to them. Wouldn't you agree? Let's be honest about things. Why would we need someone who is trying to put Russia, or rather, not even Russia, but our partners, those who, at least in theory, are cooperating with us today, in such a difficult position? This would have been aimed primarily, of course, at our partners who purchase our various energy resources and other goods. It would have played a certain negative role. So it turns out we have Iran, we have Russia, and then there's this rather comical option, Zelensky himself. Do you know why? Because Zelensky wants this war to go on endlessly until, in fact, the last Ukrainian is gone. Because war, he is a president of war. He can only exist in war. Only in war can he survive. That's why, for him, putting the Russian Federation in a weak position and actually forcing Russia to sit down at the negotiating table within a month with some huge tariffs, well, that's not really in his interest. And then he goes to Kiev, meets with Zelensky, maybe has something to drink, something to eat, maybe sniffs something, I don't know. He comes back and the person is gone. How does that happen? Do you believe in such coincidences? I don't. Friends, that's why it seems to me that this person, after all, did not die a natural death, did not pass away on his own. Well, I think European leaders should be on alert, especially European leaders, because, as I've already said, there's a whole army here in Europe of people willing and able to carry out the jihad declared by Iran against European leaders. A sleeping army that, with just a phone call, could make it all happen. But notice, if Graham really was on that list, they didn't even start with the easiest target, not with Europe, but with America. Although, actually, considering that Graham was in Ukraine, could our agents have been there, for example? Of course, they could have been. For example, I have absolutely no doubt about that. To put it quite simply, my friends, European leaders are now going to have an essential triple layer of comprehensive security protection. I'm telling you, the highest level of terrorist threat will be declared, or something like that.
Tell me, please, right now, what exactly do we have at this moment? What is it? Yes, basically, this is already a victory. We've received the money. The money came in? Yes, $3,547. That's exactly what they promised. They dragged it out for a long time, and since the money has been transferred and it's impossible to take it back now, that's it. Yes, basically, that's it. We have all the keys, all the tags. They assume we're going to buy a car. We already have a car. Next, they assume we'll pick up the drones and we will pick them up. And then they think these drones will fly somewhere. That's where, of course, they're mistaken.
From this moment, the GUR guys became more active, things got specific.
So here's the scheme. You need a phone, a SIM card, and you have to install one app on it. I'll tell you what it's called. Nothing complicated. First, you open up the mobile application, turn it on, and then it carefully checks for the presence of active GPS satellites and other necessary signals. Once it is exactly 12 o'clock, you will need to be physically present at the specific location with your phone and the installed app in order to successfully take all the required measurements.
Of course, we drove to the location specified by the GUR. Our hero went to point 1.
Well, judging by what I see here on the map, it's 1.6 kilometers to the central airfield.
The agent's task is to use the app on the phone to check satellite activity in this area. The time interval was not chosen by chance. The first measurement was so-so, but from noon to 1 o'clock, the number of satellites kept increasing, and the sixth screenshot was flawless. FSB technical specialists later determined that every day, exactly from 12 to 1, American spy satellites flew over the location. They were supposed to record the terrorist attack in real time, so that later this video would appear on all Western TV channels. Apparently, the data from the GUR operative's phone was satisfactory. The agent received a clear assignment: